of a shot of winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
And welcome back to the New York Jets Atlantic Flight Podcast. We've got a guest with us today. Used to do amazing podcast, Jets UK, and everyone that used to listen to it will know who he is, Andres Groves. And he's going to be joining us today with Daniel on the other side of the pond in sunny Florida. So without further ado, let me introduce Andres. Andres, how are you doing, brother?
I am good. We're obviously less than a week away now from the draft, so we're finally rebuild. I'm pretty good. Looking forward to the draft and seeing how we can round out the team, and then obviously that will take us to the further off-season moves. The kind of filling out the rest of the roster after the draft. So looking forward to getting some answers that we patiently wait for draft night.
Oh my God, I'm just so excited for draft. It's just ridiculous. I didn't think I was going to be this excited because it is such a lackluster draft. Well, outside of a few of the top picks, but once again, I'm getting sucked in and getting stupidly excited. Book the day off on a Friday because for us, obviously, it's Thursday night, Friday morning, isn't it? We've had some breaking news within the last sort of 24 hours. We're at the back end of this 24 hours. That Aaron Glenn flew in from his Cali home all the way over to Florham Park.
You mean Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers. No, there's too many Aarons. Well, there isn't now. There's only one. There's only one. There can only be one. And there is now only one. Aaron Rodgers. Cheers, Daniel, for that. Aaron Rodgers flew all his way from Cali, all the way up to Florham Park to meet Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji. Apparently the meeting was a few nanoseconds long, and it got to the point where Aaron Glenn asked Aaron Rodgers, do you want to play for this team? And which Aaron Rodgers replied, I'm interested, which isn't exactly, hell yeah, I want to play for the team. And at that point, Aaron Glenn apparently left and got Darren Muji, and they sat down, and that was the end of the meeting. Aaron Rodgers is now no longer officially part of this team. He will not be back. As we knew, he will be a June 1st cut, saving us a little bit. Oh, is it pre-June 1st cut? I think it is. Saving us a little bit of money, but the rest of it will pay off next year. But as we know, the cap's going up next year, so I think we're only going to be on the ticket for about a cool 10 mil. So not so bad as things turn out. But Andres, just want to get your opinion on this whole debacle with Rodgers' exit. What's your take on this?
I mean, it's just I guess it's the final chapter of this whole journey, and it's kind of one of those things where I'm kind of pleased that it is the final chapter. I'm done with the shenanigans, the nonsense you have to deal with Rodgers, and the play has not matched what the headache he brings by some of the extra stuff that when the Green Bay Packers had him, he was playing at MVP level, obviously around the pandemic, and you still had some of this nonsense, but especially some of the big nonsense around that topic specifically. But the play was so good that you kind of just it kind of made sense. But we never saw that. We've had so much of the nonsense and very lackluster play. The team has bent over backwards to facilitate to get his mediocre friends in the building, both coaching and players. We got Devontae, who is better than those lot, but it didn't work out, and it caused a rift with our other receiver because he just kind of changed. Obviously we know he hyper targeted Devontae and left Garrett almost in the cold for any of the major plays. So it just didn't work out, and he's obviously trying to change the narrative to seem like, oh, I'm the good guy and I've been treated badly, and these guys are. He's just giving himself fuel because we are going to face the Pittsburgh Steelers and we're probably going to go to the Steelers, and so he's just trying to create a narrative that's going to create more attention on himself. I'm happy that we're done with this, and I'm happy that Glenn and Muji said, no, we're not going to deal with this rubbish. If you're not locked in straight away, if you're iffing and ahhing about this, you can kick rocks, and we're going to move on, and we're going to build this team for the long haul because you're not here for the long haul. So you're just going to damage us in the short run. So yeah, I'm happy to be done with him.
Oh, you came out with some absolutely cracking little one-liners there. Absolutely love it. Getting back onto Pittsburgh, do you honestly think he will end up at the Steelers?
Yeah, I think he will end up there. I mean, I guess it could be one where he's like, I'm not going to play. If he does, I do think he wants to play. I don't think he wants to end the way it went with the Jets. He's got too much ego. He'll want to, and Pittsburgh are his best option to start and to play for a coach as good as Tomlin and an organization that's got a lot of stability. So I do think he does. It's obviously anything can happen, but I would predict that I would think that he probably will end up there. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what next is next in the Aaron Rodgers journey, as we all have to, as the media covers it non-stop. We'll obviously see it all because they can't stop covering him, and that's what it is. But we will find out. We'll find out soon.
It is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not going to give this website any credit because it's a little bit of a hocus pocus website, but just in the last couple of hours, there are rumours coming out that the New Orleans Saints may also be interested in Rodgers' services, but we'll see about that one. Let's bring Daniel. I think Daniel's got a couple of issues with Mr. Rodgers and his time with the Jets as well. I think they're a little bit stronger than yours, Andres. So, without further ado, Daniel, what's your take on Aaron Rodgers and his departure, his seemingly toxic departure from the Jets?
Aaron Rodgers should be absolutely grateful that the New York Jets were actually looking at him and taking him away from Green Bay, because we all know that Green Bay was never going to use him anymore. They didn't want him there anymore. They were ready to move on from him. They wanted to use Jordan Love right away, and Aaron Rodgers should be grateful. Pardon my language. He should be effing grateful that the New York Jets wanted him, and I wanted him. I really thought that when Aaron Rodgers was going to come over here, that he was going to light it up and do great. I'm not happy that, his Achilles snapped 4 snaps into the season opener against the Bills on Monday Night Football. And even though he didn't look like the Aaron Rodgers we thought we were going to get, and maybe it was, the recovery time of the Achilles surgery that, probably hampered him a little bit. But at the end of the day, the Jets said, that's it. We're going to move on. Thank you for your time. And maybe it was Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji that decided it. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was Woody Johnson that said, okay, that's it. I'm done with it. We're going to move on. And he told Aaron Glenn, you're going to tell him in this meeting not to move on, not to continue with his services. But here's the other thing that really bothers me, because apparently Aaron Rodgers was already in the New York, New Jersey area because he had an event or he had business to take care of before he had the meeting with both Glenn and Muji. So for him to go on Pat McAfee and say, well, I don't know why they dragged me all the way across the country just to come and meet me and tell me they don't want me on the team anymore. And, all of a sudden Aaron Glenn gets up, he walks out, walks back in, walks back out, walks back in. I mean, what are we doing here? What the hell are we doing here?
I'm going to stop you 2 seconds there, Daniel, and then you can get back on. I just want to give the exact quote of what he actually said. This is what Aaron Rodgers said on the Jets telling him they were moving on from him. I was kind of shocked. I could do this in the accent. I was kind of shocked. Now I'm not shocked because I didn't think that was a possibility. Listen, of course, if they want to move on, that's totally fine. But shocked because I just flew across the country. You could have told me this on the phone if we weren't even going to have a conversation. That's probably the worst ever Aaron Rodgers impersonation. But anyway, that's exactly what he said. So anyway, Daniel, yeah, crack on. You're on fire.
You know what? Well, you know what, Gus? This is for Aaron, and this is for Mr. Rodgers and his crummy neighborhood, okay? Even if they would have called him to tell him no, he still would have complained. He still would have bitched. He still would have gone on McAfee and said, I don't know why they wouldn't let me come over and meet them face to face. Well, you know what, Mr. Rodgers? Let me tell you something. I am so glad now that you're not on this team anymore with that stupid attitude. You know, I told you, Gus, I told everybody, whether my friends or on this podcast, you, whoever it was, I said, look, I was fine with him either staying or going, because either way, if you want to keep him, I was fine with it, because I thought his arm was still good. And I thought maybe if he gets another year in here that things might be a little bit better. But you know what, though? Unfortunately, they weren't better, because his attitude stinks. His attitude stinks. And you know what? I want to read this from Josiah Anderson, who basically, as soon as she saw this, you know what she wrote? This is what she wrote on Twitter, on X. With all due respect, Aaron Rodgers, with all due respect, Aaron Rodgers perhaps should check on how Joe Douglas feels after signing many of his friends and Robert Saleh, who was the subject of several hit pieces, both of whom lost their jobs before carrying on about this. Lost their jobs. Yes, for multiple reasons. But let's zoom out and have macro and self-awareness in this too. The question of the day really pertains to leaks. A lot of y'all have been fooled thinking hate lingered where hate didn't. I'll leave it at that. The people who know what I'm talking about I don't know who FP is, I guess the website, know what I'm talking about, current and past. So basically,
Florham Park. That's Florham Park.
it's Aaron Rodgers who brought and this is my little thing. This is me talking about how people want to act all childish and stupid when they are adults in a certain setting. This is where they play high school bitch. And if Aaron Rodgers is going to play this stupid, immature game with us, and inside the locker room at MetLife, inside the locker rooms when they go on the road, inside the training ground at Florham Park, he is mistaken. You, Aaron Rodgers, the Jets bent over backwards for you. Bent over backwards. And so what happened? You failed. No one wants you. Maybe the Steelers do want you, but you know what? You're just taking your time, and they're getting frustrated because they allowed Justin Fields. They didn't allow Justin Fields. Justin Fields told the Steelers, "I'm done with you. I'm going to the Jets." And what did Russell Wilson do? Yeah, I'm going to go to New York too, but I'm going to play for the Giants. So where's their quarterback now? They're waiting for you, Aaron Rodgers. And then what's going to happen? What, all of a sudden, like in the 19th hour, you're going to be like, okay, I'm coming to the Steelers. Or, nope, I think I'm going to go to the Saints. It looks like it's a better proposition for me. Or how just if you retire? And then what are you going to do? You're going to put two teams basically on the fence of, oh, my God, what are we going to do with our quarterback now?
It's happening all over again, isn't it? This is exactly what happened to us. I'm going to the darkness retreat, whatever it was, 8 days or what have you. And then he went on Pat McAfee and says, oh, well, I'm going to go to the Jets. Cheers. You just made us wait 8 days, keeping us in limbo. It's exactly the same kind of thing.
It's even worse because we're near the draft. I mean, if you're a Steelers fan,
sure.
Like I've got mates who are Steelers fans through running through the podcast, right? When I did the Jets podcast, I've got friends I made through from the Steelers pod, and like they're going through it because you got the draft coming up. And you're like, are we going to try and go, get someone like Jackson Dart? Are we, what we're going to do? Are we going to go Rodgers? Like they got to move on and just like, and this guy's making them wait and wait and wait. And he's going on Pat McAfee to say, oh, the Jets. And like, nothing about the Steelers. It's just ridiculous. And so, yeah, it's more about like just maximum attention for himself and his own brand and like holding on to the last kind of vessels of existence that he has in this league before he's gone from the NFL landscape. So
it's really sad, isn't it? Because when you look at the career that he's had, and I mean, if you've read his book, and it is a good book, but God, when I was reading it, there's such an element of me running through it, and I know that these guys, there's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL. They are those kind of people. They are egotists. That's why they are so good, because they are so self-focused. And I think there is a degree of being that kind of person. To be a successful quarterback, you have to be so, for want of a better word, self-centered. But looking at what he's doing, the way he's conducting himself, just in this since the off-season, really. I'll ask this one to you first, Andres. how much has he hurt his legacy going in? I mean, he will be a gold jacket, first ballot Hall of Famer, absolutely no doubt. But
Yeah.
how's he going to be remembered, do you think?
I definitely think he's hurt his legacy, obviously, since leaving Green Bay. The Jets obviously didn't work out, and obviously it was a big situation happened on that Monday night in the first season. That kind of it kind of derailed everything. In terms of his legacy, I mean, his legacy is going to be one of the most talented players to ever play the position, but was an absolute headache to deal with overall. And so it's kind of like he'll be remembered as just. Yeah, I think the further we get away from his career when he finally does retire, I think once you get to the 5-year window when he's eligible, everyone's going to remember just all the good parts and all the annoyance parts, because he's going to be. You would think that he would have left the landscape. I mean, probably not. He'll probably find some way to still get in front of a camera, but you would think the further we get from his actual playing days, people will think of all those great moments and the great plays and the annoying stuff and the things that turn people off will be faded away. But definitely he has, tarnished his legacy, and he obviously was trying to get that second Super Bowl to go up there with Peyton and things like that. And obviously he's not been able to achieve that. And I think it's because, the Green Bay Packers made some bad mistakes, building around him, but also it was the way that he made it difficult to build around him as well. He was definitely part of it. Like my best mate is a Packers fan, so we've been talking about it for many years. From when he was a Packer to now when he's a Jet, and he predicted this whole thing. He predicted this whole thing ahead of time.
We
as
got
much as I
told.
hate to admit it.
We did get told
so
by.
it's kind
Yeah,
of-
we did.
Yeah. We did get told by the Packers fans, and we're like, you don't know, we got a great team. All we need is that final piece, the final piece. You don't build around Rodgers properly. We tried. I mean, it made sense at the time. It made sense, but yeah, they knew what the problems were, and they were only going to get exacerbated in the New York market, which is what happened, especially when the injury happened. So, it's just one of the things. The legacy, I think people still remember him, and like I said, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Fame because of how incredible of a player he was. But he's definitely not going to be considered as one of the all-time greats. He's going to be in that kind of Dan Marino kind of bracket where it's an all-time great, but not like in the top tier where you're talking about Brady, which he's always aspired to be.
Yeah. Daniel, same question to you. How do you think what is Aaron Rodgers' legacy? Is it going to be affected by his shenanigans at the moment? God, I'm finding my words here.
No.
Do you think? Because see, and I get what you're saying, Andres. And in 5 years' time, time is a healer and all that. In 5 years' time, people are because YouTube exists and all the likes of it. You'll see those great throws. You'll see the fist pumps and the double check thing, with the belt and all that. That will be Aaron Rodgers. But is Aaron Rodgers going to let the end of his career? How at the end of his career? If this is the end of his career, because remember, I think he's something like about 5 or 7 touchdowns behind Brett Favre, all-time record touchdowns. So that's his motivation. He wants to come back. He wants to get ahead of Brett Favre. Absolutely 100%. That is his motivation for coming back. He'll throw 8 touchdowns and then hang it up. A bit like we had, was it Matt Forte? He needed 3 yards and Adam Gase just kept him rocking him out there until he got his 3 yards and then we never saw him again. Is it Matt Forte? It wasn't Matt Forte, was it? It was Frank Gore. Beg your pardon. Frank Gore. So yeah, Daniel, same question
Frank
to you.
Gore, yeah.
It was Frank Gore, wasn't it?
And then we never saw him. He got it on the Rams game of all games.
And we never saw him. He got his record and he never came back out on the field again. I was just like, oh, cheers, guys. But Daniel, same question to you. The legacy. Has he damaged his legacy moving forward?
No, not really. He hasn't really damaged anything, to be honest with you, because, his legacy is airtight. I mean, look, we all know he's coming to the end of the road for his career. I mean, look, his arm is still in impeccable shape. His arm is still good, without a doubt. He can still sling the ball. But to be fair and to be honest, him acting like a whiny little bastard is never going to, damage his legacy. I believe that he will get the gold jacket. I do believe he'll go to the Hall of Fame because he won a Super Bowl. Now, if you want to talk about, a certain player who has done amazing things in this league, who is not in the Hall of Fame, who should be in the Hall of Fame, that held the all-time sack record in the National Football League, was Mark Gastineau. Now listen, you can't compare what a quarterback does with what an edge rusher does, the way that Gastineau played back in the day. But I mean, Gastineau was basically a freak. Incredibly strong, incredibly fast, solid hands, when you got grabbed, you threw the QB down, you knew when he got a hold of you and put you to the ground. Now, obviously, Gastineau, unfortunately, was an arrogant guy. And he did some things that, he shouldn't have done. And one of them was, and I don't know if you guys were able to watch the 30 for 30 on the New York Sack Exchange, where he did cross the picket line of the players when they were, striking, for a brand new contract. And he went to play, he actually went to join with the scab players on the Jets. That rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But, it's stuff like that where I believe should not come into effect on players who did amazing things and achieved records that no one thought could be achieved. I mean, and not to make it apples and oranges here, but, what happened in the National Hockey League, Wayne Gretzky scored over 800 career goals in the regular season. No one ever thought, anyone was going to catch up to Wayne Gretzky, and Alexander Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals actually did it.
That's amazing.
He
Yeah.
actually broke Gretzky's record. And until Michael Strahan of the Giants, I would say probably 20 years ago, I think it was, he broke Mark Gastineau's National Football League sack record for most sacks in a career.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, I know. Brett Favre took a dive. I know.
We all know the story, yeah.
We do.
Counts. Yeah, we all know the story. I know it counts.
Yeah.
But you know what? The point is that Mark Gastineau, with all the shenanigans he's pulled, either as a player or as a retired player, and still occasionally acting like an arrogant SOB, the truth is this: he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Period. Just
100%.
like Aaron Rodgers will go to the Hall of Fame no matter what. And then, Green Bay will welcome Aaron Rodgers back with open arms when they call him up and say to him, listen, we had our differences, Aaron, but as time heals all wounds, we're going to retire your number 12 here with the Packers. And then he'll come back like Brett Favre came back as they retired his number 4. And he'll get a standing ovation from the faithful Packer fans, without a doubt. Aaron Rodgers' legacy, regardless of how it's going to end, will still be intact no matter what. But he's still a one-year-old bastard.
Well, that's just happened with Tyron Smith, isn't it? So he obviously was with the Jets last year. He signed a 1-year contract with the Dallas Cowboys. He retires as a Cowboy, and he'll be going to the Hall of Fame as well. And no bad words from Tyron Smith. Just left the building. Thank you very much. We all know he absolutely fell off a cliff last year. Thank God we took Olu Fashanu in the draft last year. Otherwise, Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have been playing 17 games. That's an absolute fact. As our right tackle, we had some turnstiles on the other side.
I'm sorry, Gus. Can you say it louder for some of us over here on the on the Atlantic Ocean here in New York and New Jersey and Florida and anywhere else that there are Jet fans in the United States? Can you just say that one more time? About
Olu Fashanu was the right pick
last year.
He was the right pick.
I needed to hear it for the boys in the back. They gotta hear this. Say it again.
It was the right pick. Olu Fashanu was the right pick at the right time. Even though Brock Bowers is probably a better player, the right pick at the right time was to take a left tackle. And thank God we're not, this is segueing nicely. Thank God we are now not looking for a left tackle and a right tackle in this draft. But we've got Brock Bowers as a tight end, so we don't need a tight end. In the tight end class, that's extremely deep. So, and a left tackle and a right tackle class that isn't deep. So, but we've got a left tackle in Olu Fashanu. Andres, what was your reaction when we took Fashanu last year, or Fashanu as some of the Americans want to call him?
Hmm. Yeah, I was a fan of that way of going. I mean, I liked Brock Bowers. I didn't think he was going to be this good. I thought there would be a bit of a ramp up period for him. And so in the season that we had, with that notion that he would maybe need a bit of a ramp up period, we needed in the season we were going to with Rodgers year two. I was like, get Rodgers protected. He needs to be protected. He can't move. When he gets injured, he's not going to be able to move. And he's going to be coming off the Achilles. Get him protection. We can get weapons elsewhere and other options. So I was all for it purely because I thought Brock Bowers wasn't going to be as good as he was in his first year. But I still, even that being said, I still think it was the right choice because I think the positional value, even though tight end you can say Brock Bowers is a better player, I would say the positional value of taking a left tackle for 10 years rather than a tight end for 10 years is probably more valuable because, just because the positional value, right? So I was all for Olu, and he looks great, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he does in year two with another kind of, now he's out of that rookie year.
Honestly, I when I look at Fashanu and I look at Bowers, I just think, wow. Absolutely, he is everything advertised. He is a generational talent. They've got Geno Smith now in Las Vegas, and wow, I think the Raiders personally are on the cusp of something pretty special. Ashton Jeanty is being projected to go to the Raiders at pick 6. I'm a huge Jeanty fan. If the Raiders go and pick Jeanty, I'm predicting that the Raiders will go to the playoffs. I think that they've got enough pieces in place to make the playoffs. Um, just before we get back to Daniel, have you got anyone in mind that you would like to be taking in this year's draft at number 7, or would you prefer to trade down?
The trade down option is definitely one that I would be interested in, depending, especially if you're looking at someone like if the Saints, if Shador Sanders gets to us at 7, and the Saints go, yeah, well, I think we need to be aggressive to get him. Then maybe there's an option just to drop down a few picks. But if there's no trade, I don't really like to talk trade down because we always talk trade down every single year. Yeah, I just thinking like what position, what players are generally going to be there, and who do you want? Because trading down is fanciful, but then when you trade down, how far you trade down, which players are available, it opens up so many different variables. It's hard to go down. So in general, yes, I would like it, especially if we can get first round draft value for next year. Because obviously, if we maybe trading up for a quarterback or we've got more ammunition, yes, in theory, yes. But in terms of where we're picking at 7th, if we can't move, you're looking at Membu, you're looking at Warren. I think those are my two favourite options. And I would say Membu over Warren at this point, but I like either option. I just don't know if Membu's going to be there. I've got a feeling that the Pats might take him at 4, and then it'll be Warren for us at 7. So that's my prediction, but I wouldn't mind either option. If they go either way, I would be okay with it.
Yeah, I would. I've heard this as well, that the Patriots are looking at Membu as well. I don't understand why the Patriots be looking at Membu, because he's a right tackle, and then when they actually need a left tackle. But I've heard the same thing, that
Yeah.
and there's been a few mocks where Membu is actually selected by the Patriots. Daniel, who are you looking forward to? Who would you like at 7, ideally, or again a trade down?
Yeah, well, let me say this. I am always wanting to stay at the position that that the Jets are in, wherever they are in the draft. Now, look, if they can finagle their way up or down, we'll see where it goes. But like I've said, I think I've been very clear where I've said, like I said, I'm ready for a right tackle, either Campbell or Membo. One of the two would be, I prefer. I wouldn't be opposed actually this time for them to go after Tyler Warren at tight end, even though that's a splash. But still, though, look, I like what I saw from him. I wouldn't mind that. I mean, but I'm still putting my foot down for completing the wall, which is that offensive line that truly needs a right tackle to complete it and to protect the quarterback at all times. But if they do trade down, it all depends on if either Campbell or Membo are no longer in front of them after the first 6 picks. If they are not there, and also if Warren is not there, then I say trade down. But if they want to do we'll trade whoever. I keep forgetting. I know, was it Tennessee, Giants, Patriots? I think they're in the top 3. Maybe Cleveland is up there in the top 4. If they, not to the Patriots, obviously, but let's just say for the hell of it, you contact Tennessee or you contact the Browns. Let me ask you a question. Who on our roster would you like? And of course, it's not going to be, it's not going to be a big name, but it could be like, maybe an up and coming player that showed some promise last year. And I've said, look, you can still make trades before the draft, during the draft, to say, yeah, we'll give you our number 1 pick for, let's just say for the hell of it, Isaiah Davis. If you want to trade Isaiah Davis and get a first round pick for him, then you know what? You do it. And then you'd have 2 picks in the first round. So you stay at 7, but then you also have an ability to pick somebody else in the top 6. And then, do what you did when you drafted Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, and Jermaine Johnson in the first round 3-4 years ago.
I have to say, I would not trade Isaiah Davis at all. We've been down this one before. We haven't done this with Andres, so it'd be interesting to see what Andres has to say about this.
I'm only throwing it out as an example. That's all it is.
I know.
I'm not saying I'm not saying I want that to happen. I think Isaiah Davis could be a tremendous running back for us. But all I'm saying is, if the Jets do make a move like that, then I would not be opposed to it. That's all.
Mm-hmm. As I'm looking at NFL.com now, and it's just like, we're at 7, and there are a couple of marquee players like Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, and I'm going to put Ashton Genty into that mix as well. At some point, because we just don't know, every year when the draft happens, somebody is always taken either too high or somebody slips. And I just feel like this year, we're also expecting to get Membu. I just can't help but feel that we're going to end up with someone like Mason Graham. So, is there anyone that you think, Andres, that you think that might slip to us? And if there was someone that you wanted to slip to us, who would it be?
Out of the people, ideally, yeah. Abdul Carter would be obviously amazing if someone slips to us, but I feel that there's 4 players that are going to be just, Cam Ward's going 1, I think, because he's a quarterback. Then you've got Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and the 2 other guys who I'm sure are going to go up there. Genty, from a talent point of view, is there, but because he's running back, there can be variables. Like if the Raiders don't go with him, then he could slip out the top 10 potentially, even though he's really good. Because also there's a really good draft for running backs as well. So people may go, well, if we're not going to, there may be someone we can get in the 2nd or 3rd or 4th round instead of getting that premium quality, premium assets to a running back. So in terms of people dropping to us, I really feel like I just don't think that the top 3, if any of them drop to us, that would be a slam dunk, obviously, but I don't think they're going to. So it's we're in a weird position where I feel there's a cluster of players who are going to be, like Campbell it depends on what you think of Campbell. Some people consider maybe he doesn't have the length to be a tackle. So we'd have to see how they feel about that. And that's up to their own evaluation that we don't know because it's a new lot and we don't have anything to run by, how they kind of evaluate players. So it really is just, it'll be nice to have, if Member and Warren are still there at 7, then maybe we can start looking at maybe like shifting back. Maybe we can convince someone to move up for someone that they want. Maybe so that we can say, oh, someone's reached out to us. They want to play. Do you want to jump ahead of them? Make sure that they don't get, we can just get a little bit extra draft capital just by moving down a spot or 2 and still get one of them. That's the way I see it in terms of the first round. If we drop into the 15, let's say someone like the Falcons, want to come up for someone, I've heard there's been rumours of that, then, you can get a first round pick potentially with that move up. And then you could take someone like Kelvin Banks, who's another tackle, who's probably the second tackle, kind of pure tackle. And he can play, but there's tackles in the second round that you can get at 42 as well. So it's really fascinating to see how, when you get a new regime, you see what they kind of they go after, and they're kind of their style. So it's really hard to guess because of where we're picking, the lack of quality in this draft and the new regime. It really leaves a lot of mysteries, and how it's going to be. So yeah, bring on Thursday, really.
I mean, you bring up a good point. There will be tackles in the second round, and if I'm honest, at 42, I wouldn't want to be taking a tackle outside of 42. I think within 42, from 33 to 42, I think you should still be able to pick up a tackle outside of 42. Now, I think you're looking at a player that might, Ozzy Trapillo from Boston College, for example. He's not. I'm a Boston College fan, kind of ex-alum. I would love Ozzy Trapillo, but he's not going to start day one. Ozzy Trapillo is someone that might come in maybe game 5, game 6, after he's got a few more training camps and training sessions under his belt, to push for a starting spot. But I don't think someone like that will come in straight away. Connolly's another one. I don't think he's ready to start straight away, but he could come in. But getting back to people that could slide, interestingly, Colorado wide receiver cornerback Travis Hunter earlier on this week said he did not want to go to a team that was not going to play him both sides of the ball. Daniel, how difficult is that to play both ways? And has he hurt his draft stock there?
I think he has. Look, this is not arena football. Okay. Arena football basically is a 50-yard field, very small, inside of a hockey rink. And that there's like too much scoring going on, and it even gets more delayed because they have they stop the clock at 1 minute whenever a down or a quick touchdown gets scored, and you can score as many times as you want. I mean, I like arena football. I don't mind it. I don't know if you guys ever watched it or if you've ever been to a game here in the States, if you're on holiday, but I've been to an arena football league game, and it's pretty exciting.
I don't know why it's not more popular, to be honest.
And I think the way it's been managed, it's been mismanaged, to be honest with you. So that's why. And the Arena Football League was a great league at the time, but unfortunately, they've had their moments. But still, though, look, once in a while, you'll get a player that's normally on the offensive side of the ball play a defensive snap. I remember back in the playoffs when the Jets were hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that's when they took on the Denver Broncos in the AFC Championship game. That was back in 1998. That's when Aaron Glenn was talking about. On the final play of the game, Keyshawn Johnson was told by Bill Parcells they're going to go for a Hail Mary, be in the secondary, either knock it down or pick it off. And Keyshawn Johnson actually picked it off for the defense because of his length and how, his leaping ability and how he was able to grab the ball. There was another time when Sheldon Richardson, when he was drafted by the Jets during the Rex Ryan era, and he was, when they were playing against the Carolina Panthers in Carolina, and there was another game he did it, that when it was a 2nd and 1, that, him being a defensive lineman going after the quarterback, they actually handed him the ball as a running back or a fullback, and he got a touchdown out of it. So as a defensive player, he scored touchdowns, but when he was requested to be an offensive player on the offensive side of the ball. So, for this kid to, blatantly go out and say, yeah, I can play offense and defense. I can be a wide receiver and I can be a corner. And that's very brave and bold of him. But, in the National Football League, unless they say to you, we'll let you do it, then you do it. If not, then shut up and either go in, then pick a position, either as a wide receiver or as a corner.
Yeah. I think the phrase "walk before you can run" comes to mind.
Exactly.
I don't even think Primetime did that. I mean, he came into the league and eventually did a little bit of both. He didn't come straight in and say, "I want to do this and I want to do that." And you're talking one of the league's all-time greatest players, without a shadow of a doubt. And Travis Hunter is trying to. I wonder if it's got something to do with Shedeur Sanders being in this draft as well. Obviously, he's played with Shedeur Sanders. He's obviously seen Primetime knocking around the place because obviously he is his coach. So maybe there's a little bit of prime in him. Who knows? I can't fault the guy for wanting to play both ways. Hell, when I was playing, if I could have played both ways, I would have said play me both ways as well. But like you say, it is incredibly knackering to go one way, let alone both ways. And the playbook, you're talking playbooks. They're huge. For one for the kids here, they look like telephone directories, and it's just like to learn one side of the ball is one thing, but to learn both sides of the ball. But if they were to bring him in, I think he's probably his better position is wide receiver. So if they play him as a wide receiver, and then a bit like what you've just said, have a couple of plays or a few plays at corner as well, that will spell him that. But to actually play Iron Man football and go both ways, this is the NFL. It's a completely different ball game. And I personally, I can't see it. And has he hurt his draft stock was the question. I think he might have hurt his draft stock a little bit because I think it's going to take a strong-minded head coach to try and whittle some of that enthusiasm out of him a little bit.
Can I just jump in for this?
Yeah, go on. I'd like to hear your comments.
Sorry, Gus. Yeah, the way I see it with Travis Hunter, it's definitely going to be wait and see if it works out. It's definitely fascinating to see a guy who's going to try and go both ways in the NFL at such a high level and intensity that the league provides rather than college ball. The way I see it is that if someone like the Giants were to take him, he would be, I think personally, any team anyway, never mind the Giants for a second, I think he may actually do the opposite of what you're saying maybe, is that because corner needs you to be in kind of in the, you've got to be in the whole, you've got to be there. You can't just be in there for one player or the other. You may come in cold and then the receiver that you go up against is going to just like be ready to take you on, and you're not going to be in the flow of the game defensively. I think that he comes in defensively as the cornerback, even though maybe you're probably right that wide receiver is his better trait. But I think that I think it's easier for him to be a cornerback full time and then have some design plays to start off with as he ramps up. They bring him in some offensive plays where, if, like I said, now if you're the Giants, he would be your wide receiver too, because now you've got Neighbors already, who's the prime guy. Then you would have Travis Hunter, who can come in and be opposite him at times, right? You can be as part of the rotation and shoot and show his ability. So you wouldn't have to use him so much on the offense, still keep him fresh in the defense. But he would bring that dynamism to when the play needs to be made and when you have to have it, you would have someone like Travis Hunter opposite someone like Neighbors. So I don't know if he's going to drop any further than the Giants, to be frank. I think he's worth the potential of a guy who's extraordinary at both positions relative to, especially with the draft class being what it is. I don't think he's going to drop further than that, but we will see. Like I said, I'm fascinated to see how he does it and how a team operates, and they're definitely going to have a plan of how to incorporate his ability to maximize the asset cost, that it would cost to get him and to get both sides out of him and the quality that both sides brings.
It's going to be an interesting player, and whoever gets him, he is one hell of a player. He's one hell of an athlete, and his love for the game. I mean, wanting to play both ways, can't knock it, can you? I mean, you've got to love it. I want to be on the field the entire time. I want to play. I love that. I love that. I think most football fans see that and his love of the game. I love that. Anyway, what I was going to say is this as well. We've got Justin Fields at quarterback, guys. Do you think that there's a scenario in this draft where we do pick a quarterback, or do we just completely focus on building around Justin Fields? Daniel, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I'm going to take this one first. I mean, right now, we need to see what Justin Fields can do this season. And I also believe that if he does do the job, then there's no reason to draft a quarterback. I want to see what he can do. Look, do I feel he's improved his stock? Yeah, I think he has. Do I think he still needs a little bit more seasoning? Maybe needs a little more help? Yeah, he probably does too. But, now he's with his guys. He's back with Garrett Wilson. He's back with Jeremy Ruckert. He's back with his center. Now, I don't be a center full time, but that's Tipman's job. But still, though, he'll be there with Justin Fields, and just to make him feel comfortable, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. So I want to see what Justin Fields can do. I want to see how much he's improved, because the 6 games he got was not enough last year. And, I thought the Steelers did the wrong thing by playing Russell Wilson, even though they made him get to the playoffs. Still, though, it wasn't enough in the playoffs anyway. So, like I said, I believe if Justin Fields has improved himself and gives the Jets a lot of confidence out there to get more than 5 or 6 wins, even more than 7 wins, then there's no reason to draft a quarterback. But if he's going to fall apart and not do what he's supposed to do, then I would say in next year's draft, that's where you look for the quarterback. Because this year, I don't believe they should be going for Dart. We all know Ward won't be available. We all know Shedeur Sanders will not be available. I believe that going for a quarterback would be the wrong thing to do in this draft when it comes up very soon, very, very soon, and just worry about it for next year.
On the back of just mentioning Dart, I'm just going to add this in the last few hours. It's been reported that Jackson Dart has now not been invited to the green room at the NFL room, the first day picks in Green Bay. So that's interesting. So I thought Jackson Dart would have been a day 1 pick. He still very well might be a day 1 pick, but he'll be doing it from his living room with his loved ones. So the same question for you, Andres. What do you think?
I'm pretty much in lockstep with Dan on that one. It's time to give Fields a chance. You've got Tyrod as his backup. I do feel that if there's a value in day 3, in day 1 and 2, we've got so many holes. We need some value. We need to try and get some hits in the 2nd and 3rd round at other positions, ideally. But if there is a value in the 4th or 5th round, 6th round, maybe there's someone you think he could be the legitimate long-term backup when obviously Tyrod's obviously got 1 year left, and you want to bring him in as a QB3, kind of get him, under the training of the current coaches and the infrastructure. I can see it happening then, but it would definitely would be a value pick of a day 3 guy. So that's where I see maybe a quarterback. So technically yes, but not in a way that's going to affect Fields or even Tyrod in terms of the depth chart.
So talking about helping out our quarterback, I've got a little dilemma for you guys here. So we've got Will Campbell is off the board, Membu is off the board, but sitting in front of us, you've got a choice. You can take Tyler Warren or you can take Ashton Genty. Now, in my opinion, both of these guys can help out Fields in different ways, but they can both help out Fields. I'll ask this one first, Andres. Who would you take? Would you take Tyler Warren or would you take Ashton Genty?
I'll take Warren. But Genty is the better player. But it's the way we're structured as a team. We've got nothing at tight end, and Warren is a great tight end.
We've got Jeremy Ruckert. What are you on about?
Level, he's still a really, really good prospect. Oh, okay. I forgot Bill Ruckett's son. Yes, yeah. I know. No, we've got basically nothing. Jeremy hasn't shown anything. As much as we love him, we know he's a Jet fan. We always root for the Jets players who Jets fans growing up and whatnot. But he hasn't proven it that he could be anything more than a second, maybe even just a third guy. So we've got practically nothing. When you look at the running back room, it's still really good. We obviously, it was a bit of a down year from Brees. We hope he comes back even stronger and he has a really good year in the new system. But he's a really good. We know that Brees has got really top end talent, and then you've got a really deep room behind him. I really like the 2 guys behind him as his kind of complementary guys. So while Genty is the better prospect, Warren is both a need and also a very valid pick at that position as well. And I feel like it's just you take Genty. you've got Brees, it's going to be too many people, and yet then you look at the tight end room and it's just barren at the point. So I think for me it's an easy choice, even though I do think that Genty is the better prospect. It's just for our team and where we're at, Warren is the pick for me if those two are available.
Daniel, anyone that listens to this podcast knows how much of an Ashton Genty fan I am. I can't disagree with everything Andres has just said there as well. There isn't a right or wrong answer because they both bring something different to the game. If you paired up Genty and Brees, holy moly! But then we always say this, don't we? A quarterback's best friend is a tight end. So drafting a tight end would help Fields no end. Daniel, how would you go on this one? It's a tough choice to make, isn't it?
It is a tough choice, and don't get me wrong. I mean, Genty is going to be something special, but once again, I'm very upset with all the Brees Hall, doubters, the ones that want to say, yeah, get rid of Brees Hall. He can't do it here. He can't. Yeah, but Brees Hall hasn't had a competent, offensive line since he's been, drafted. And at the same time, everything that went well for the Jets at the start of the year that he was drafted. You see, as I'm saying, guys, is that, Brees Hall, ever since he got drafted, outside of his rookie year, that he was phenomenal. And, they were winning games in his rookie year until he got the ACL injury, tear in Denver. Since then, the offensive line has not been what it should be. The offensive line has not given him the holes to allow him to be as successful as he should be. And people need to understand something, okay? When your offensive line is not creating the holes for you to make a run, then you're not going to do well. So, I don't understand all these naysayers or these negative Nancys against Brees Hall. I still feel he's dangerous. He's not only a dangerous player running with the ball, he's also a dangerous player as a pass-catching running back. So he's a dual threat. And I really believe that Brees Hall can be dangerous under a better regime, and hopefully will be a better regime with Aaron Glenn and Engstrom as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, agreed. Our O-line last year was ranked top 5 in pass pro, and we were 29th, I believe, in run blocking, which, to back up what you've just said, is really not good enough. The difference between, I brought up a scenario. I brought up some stats last week that Brees was only hitting 2 to 3 yards outside of those big runs. If you took the big runs off Brees's stats, he was only getting like 2 or 3 yards at a push. And Davis and Allen were actually getting 5-6 yards on the chunk plays, but they're different runners. They're north-south runners, whereas Brees is more. He's a bit like, for me, he's a bit like Le'Veon Bell. He's a patient runner. He'll wait for the blocks to set themselves, and then he'll make his cut. One cut, bam, gone, which is why he's so explosive. If we did end up trading Brees, I'd be sad to see Brees go, but I know this is a business. If we replace Brees with Ashton Genty, I'm not going to cry about it because I am an Ashton Genty fan, but at the same time, it would be sad to see Brees go because I think he is a good guy. He is a team player, and it would be sad, as you said, Daniel, to see him not get that chance with a completed O-line, which is what we all want to see happening on that draft night. I think a majority of fans, can I speak for all of us here? We all want to see a right tackle taken on draft night. So hopefully that's the situation. And that's pretty much all we've got time for this week. And Andres, what are you doing draft night, brother?
Interestingly, I've kind of got a bit of a sticky situation when it comes to draft weekend because I've just started a new job, and I work shifts. So yeah, and I haven't had time to basically get days off. So because I'm working day shift on Friday, Saturday, Sunday starting at 7:30. So I'm going to get up extra early on Friday morning, mute all my chats on WhatsApp and everything social media, and try to watch it as live and skip through, that middle when everyone's making their decisions and you're sitting there. I'm going to
Yeah.
miss all the fun of like the suspense, but I'm going to watch it as best as I can. Before I get to work, at least to the Jets pick, then maybe check the rest out later on. It's just one of those things where I kind of, by the time I realized what shift I was working, I went, uh-oh, I haven't remembered what day draft day is. It's just been so much going on with the new job. So it's just one of those things where I'm just going to have to, make the best of it. And I've got a few colleagues who are also NFL fans. So I'm trying to get in before I get there because they'll probably be telling me who the Jets picked before I walk through the door. So,
Nightmare.
yeah, yes, that's unfortunately it's not the plan. I normally take days off or I move shifts around, so I at least get Friday morning off or Friday off, so I can then enjoy Thursday night, at least round one. But not this year, and I'm gonna have to change it up this year.
Well, it does work watching it as live. In the 2022 draft, I went down in the car. I was driving, and my friend Jamie, we had the
I remember
round.
this
Do you remember this?
before you came down for the meetup, because we meet up on round
That's right. That's right. We
two, right? When we
met up on
picked
round two, didn't we?
Brees that night because you came down for the. Yes, we did. Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
And we listened to it as live on the drive down to London, and it's just like, and then there was the whole JJ trade right at the back end of the draft, and we were like, "What? Oh my God, this is
That is an
amazing!"
immense drive to come down from the north of England down to London. You're listening to Getting Sauce at 4, Garrett at 10, and trading
Yeah,
back up to get JJ at 26. I remember how, guys, you were buzzing that night. I remember when I met both of you guys.
yeah, we were. I
Yeah,
mean, if you're going to do a long journey, that's what you want to happen. You want to draft Sauce, draft Garrett Wilson,
that's
draft.
actually something you always remember. That's such a cool thing.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I don't think it's going to be as eventful, both in draft picks and also in terms of I'm probably not going to have the time to listen to the whole thing as live. I'm going to have to kind of skip through it in a way. So it is what it is. But I'm very much looking forward to seeing what this team and this regime does to kind of get this team moving in the right direction. And hopefully they're making some sensible choices. So we have faith in them on the first chance to see what they're doing. So let's hope. Fingers crossed.
I don't know why, but I feel relatively confident with what's going on at the moment, especially after Aaron Glenn being Aaron Glenn and saying what he said to Aaron Rodgers. But hey, Daniel, what are you up to, brother? What are you going to be doing draft night? I mean, obviously, we might be doing something live. We don't know yet, but we're going to try to do something. But what are your plans, Daniel?
Simple. Sit on my chair, have the telly on, and watching the draft, and then watching Commissioner Roger Goodell tell everybody with the 7th pick in the first round of the NFL draft, the New York Jets select, and whoever that guy is.
Harmon Membu.
Yeah, that's my hope. That's the hope. That's the hope. And, I'll be either celebrating, crying, banging my head against the wall, or just, running around like a lunatic saying, this is the guy we got. It's the guy.
And it's the hope that kills you. We know that. Guys, it's been an absolute blast doing this just before draft week. Andres, it's too long having you on here, brother. It's good to have you. And every time I hear your voice, it just takes me back to when you were doing your podcast, the Jets UK. I missed that show, brother, and it was such a good show. It was for this, people that don't know, I mean, the show isn't on anymore, and it was really, really a landmark show over here in the UK. And for people like myself, it showed that someone like me could do a podcast as well. Because these guys were the benchmark at the time. And if it hadn't been for them, I might not be sat here behind this microphone doing it now. So, Andrews, I appreciate you, brother, and for giving me the confidence to do something like this as well. So hopefully we'll have you back on again after the draft, and we can
No worries.
We can mull over where we went right and where we went wrong.
Absolutely. Definitely a debrief will be happening a week or two after the draft. I'll try and see what my schedule says. We'll work things out for sure. I like to jump back on and see what's happened in the wake of this coming weekend.
Brilliant, guys. Thanks very much. And God, fingers crossed that the Jets get what we want and what we think we need. Thanks, guys. And as always, go Jets.
Y'all know what to say. On 3. 1, 2, 3.